Hi, how's everyone doing today? I am Josalyn Filkins, Ed Tech Specialist, and I am coming to you with one of our incredible upcoming authors, Jason McKenna. And we are going to do a quick interview today to hear more about one, his upcoming book, two, his incredible session at FETC that all of you I know are anxiously awaiting, and then three, speak a little bit more around some of our ed tech services that we have here at Solution Tree. How are you doing today, Jason?
I am doing very well. Thank you for asking.
Okay, great. So your session at the FETC conference will be Switch Mode, Authoring Text-Based Programming in Block-Based Programming Environment. So what can the audience expect from that session, Jason?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So, here at Vex, we're known, first of all, for the robotics competitions that we put on in our STEM education continuum. As you can see in front of me right here, we have products that engage students all the way from kindergarten really through college. And one of the biggest impediments that students currently have as they're learning STEM and computer science is this transition from block-based coding to text-based coding. So if teachers watch this are familiar with things like Scratch or even our own Vex Code coding language, you know that oftentimes students in second, third, and fourth grade get started with the block-based coding. They snap it together like puzzle pieces. They don't have to worry about syntax errors. You don't have to worry about compiler errors. It just allows students to focus on the actual computational thinking and coding. And again, not things like syntax. When students get a little bit older, however, the research is clear that they want to begin using tools that what they consider quote unquote professional coders, professional programmers actually use, and that's text-based coding. Unfortunately, the research always also bears out that transition from block to text-based coding is very difficult for students. All the scaffolding that's in for blocks goes away once students are exposed to text-based coding. So what we've developed here at Vex is a very unique piece of software called Switch that helps students to switch from blocks to text-based coding, but provides the scaffolding support for the students so they can do it in a much more meaningful way. And you, again, as an educator, you are allowed to focus on what you're trying to teach in computer science and not worried about things like syntax or trying to teach typing to students as opposed to what you're trying to do with computer science. We actually have a beta of that going on right now this fall, in which we're actually studying how students are doing with Switch. So not only am I going to be able to present the actual software itself at FETC, but also talk about the performance of these students and actually them using our Switch coding software.
That's awesome. So what do teachers walk out of your session with in hand or in mind, basically, would you say?
Yeah, so what they're going to walk out understanding is, number one, why students should start in block-based coding, why they do transition to text, and then what the problems associated with that transitions are, and the problems associated with that transition. But then secondarily, we're going to talk about the solution that we're actually able to provide for teachers to make that transition a lot more seamless.
Okay, so cool. I would love to take just a second because this Vex Classroom is so cool. And I know that our watchers and our audience right now are probably like, tell me more around, this is not a background. This is not a Zoom background. Just everybody should know.
No, it's a real classroom.
There we go.
Yeah.
Jason, tell them more around the space that you're in.
Yeah, so the Vex Classroom was born out of, first of all, the pandemic. We wanted a way for teachers to stay connected to Vex as they transition from teaching from their classrooms to their living rooms. So we created this Vex Classroom so that we could do webinars and sessions with Vex teachers all over the world. There are teachers in over 160 countries using Vex products. So we wanted to make sure that they were still connected to STEM and to our products as they transition to distance learning. And then secondarily, we found out it was a really nice way to do direct instruction. So if you think about the challenges that so many teachers have in teaching STEM, a third grade teacher or a second grade teacher might not be that familiar with robotics. They got their degree like I did in elementary education. The thought of teaching robotics might be a little bit intimidating for them. So if we're able in our curriculum and resources to basically do all of the direct instruction for the teacher, that number one alleviates some of that fear. But then number two, it allows the teachers to really be a facilitator as the students are working and not have to worry about learning the materials and deliver that direct instruction. As I like to say, I was a lot better teacher first period than I was eighth period, right? So with this, it allows you to really focus on being a facilitator and really help the individual students at their instructional level, or the group of students at their instructional level, as opposed to you having to do all that instruction. So we created this classroom, number one, to help during the pandemic, but then number two, so we could provide the direct instruction for the teacher. So if you want to learn how to build your first robot, we'll build the robot here in the classroom with different camera angles that you can use. On my laptop, I can show you the coding, and that allows both you and your students to receive the instruction from us, and allows you again to be that facilitator.
That's so awesome, Jason. And that does lead us right into, I would love to speak more around the book that you wrote with Solution Tree, that you are the author of, an upcoming book. It'll be published soon, I think in the winter, correct? Is that what we're
Correct.
thinking? Winter
Correct.
months?
Targeting
Okay.
February, that's correct.
Wonderful. And it lends itself into just what you said, you providing some support to teachers around how do you get into such things like robotics and STEM. So the name of the book, and it's behind Jason, What STEM Can Do for Your Classroom, Improving Student Problem Solving, Collaboration, and Engagement in Grades K-6, which we know is just so essential to student learning. And I would love for you to tell our audience members your origin story of the book.
Yeah, it's a very actually interesting story. I've always wanted to write a book, but I didn't really have the means to be able to do it. I was unsure, like, how do you, contact a publisher and work with an editor and do those different types of things. And, I'm so busy with my job at Vex, never really had the time to invest in it. And I actually received a ping, an email from Sarah, who works in HR for Solution Tree. And she proceeded to tell me the story about her daughter's experience with Vex robotics competitions. Her daughter was 9 years old at the time, and did Vex. It was basically what she communicated in the email was that this was the best experience of her school experience up to this point. She always struggled with finding a peer group. She always struggled with engagement in school. She didn't really like going to school. And then as a result of her participation in the Vex robotics program, she found her peer group. It was something that she really enjoyed to be able to do. She loved working with the other students in her group. And that's something that we hear about all the time with students in Vex competitions and engaged in Vex products. Is it's not necessarily the fact that they love the engineering design process or they love the coding. They love the collaborations, the authentic collaborations as they form with the other students as they're engaging in STEM and project-based learning. So she shared that story with me and shared what Vex competitions meant to her and her family, and felt that there was really a book that could be pursued here. And she put me in contact then with an editor who read some of the blog posts and things like that I had written for Vex. And she also felt that this was a very intriguing story that could be put in book form. Unfortunately, this happened right at the beginning of the pandemic. So we were going through that transition, as I mentioned to you. So I couldn't really capitalize upon the opportunity at that time. But about 4 or 5 months later, I contacted Sarah, my initial editor, and I said, hey, is the offer still on the table? And she said, yes. So I went through and wrote a chapter of the book, kind of fleshed out the table of contents, did all of that. And then that initial manuscript was accepted, and I started the process of actually writing the book.
I really love that origin story because it does speak to the impact that educators have on our kids, and just, you never know just how things work out that way, and the need for students to have exposure to different types of learning experiences, and just how rich those learning experiences can be. And now I love that you're able to kind of turnkey that for other teachers, which is really what the focus was when we reached out to you at Solution Tree. And shout out to Sarah. We love Sarah for taking that initiative. So that's really great. So what do you see as a value to having access to virtual learning for adults? I know you've presented in a large scope of audience globally, which is incredible. What do you see as a value of that for educators?
I think if as a former educator, I taught for 20 years before my current position at Vex, and we've all been through professional development sessions. Some of them are good, some of them are not so good. The weakness of most of the, as I refer to them as sit and get
Yes.
PD sessions is the end, right? You go through, you can have a very good PD session, but teaching is such a unique thing and such a challenging thing, and the challenges are different every single day. In order to be able to equip teachers and educators with what they need, that help needs to be ongoing. So that's where the virtual component of professional development really comes in and is really beneficial for teachers. Is number one, it's ongoing. It allows teachers to get the just-in-time help that they need for whatever challenges happen. Because again, the challenges are going to be different from year to year, day to day, semester to semester. So having that ongoing support is vital. Number two, it can be individualized. As you mentioned, I've talked about STEM education on every continent in the world. And the one thing that you learn very quickly is that the challenges are different in every single classroom that you have. You go to places like Southeast Asia, and they have 50 to 55 students in a classroom. So you have that particular challenge. You have challenges amongst resources, school infrastructure. You have challenges about traditions and how students and teachers interact. You have all these different things that go into trying to provide those memorable learning experiences for your students. So a one-size-fits-all professional development oftentimes struggles because the challenges are unique. So having a virtual solution for teacher professional development allows those teachers to pursue the individualized challenge, individualized professional development that they need in order to meet the classroom challenges that they have. So those are just two of the many reasons why virtual professional development is so important for teachers today.
Well, Jason, I love that you kind of teed me up there. But behind Jason is an incredible banner. It says Global PD Teams. And Jason really hit on some of the key aspects of why we developed our own learning platform at Solution Tree. And we have Global PD Teams really affords each teacher to personalize their experiences based on our 8 learning pathways. You have magazines, ebooks, mini courses, playlists. All of these experiences, just like Jason mentioned when he was speaking to his experiences, are personalized and allow you the opportunity to have 24/7 access to all of our associates. And again, ebooks, we have 232 books available for you to navigate. And so while we are interviewing and discussing Jason and his experiences and his upcoming book and his session, also there's a great tie to our learning platform and how it can really best serve and support you and your learning experiences. And, just to wrap things up here, I'm going to give 2 plugs. So we are going to have an EdTech booth at FETC. So you can come visit me and I can give you a demo of Global PD Teams, and we can speak more to how can you leverage this platform to really take you above and beyond just your basic learning experiences of sit and get. We don't want that. We want you to have hands-on learning experiences for you to grow yourself and also your team and collaborate with rich experiences that Solution Tree has really curated for you. But again, the other plug is check out our incredible author, Jason McKenna. So I want to tell you, he will be presenting on Monday, January 23rd from 2:30 to 3:15 in room 201 and 202. So I'm assuming it's an adjoining room. The session number is CSF2. And again, check out Jason for his incredible session on switch mode, authoring text-based programming in block-based programming environment. And if nothing else, we want you to check out his book when it comes in February, because you are just such an exceptional author, but person. I loved having this interview, Jason. So thank you so much for your time. Is there anything left you'd like to leave our audience members with, Jason? Did I miss anything?
No, I'd just like to mention, if you don't have the opportunity to come see me at my session, you can come check us out at the Vex booth. I will be there during the entire conference. We have a very large booth, so it's kind of hard to miss us. But come see me at the booth if you want to learn more about STEM education, you want to learn more about my book. If you want to come ask me about Global PD Teams, I'd be happy to chat with you about that also. But come see me at the booth or see me at the session.